got too crooked. So we went to the Amish store, and if you have an Amish store around you, I definitely recommend going. If you live in North Carolina, the Shiloh General Store in Hamptonville is the best place to go. They have the best chicken salad, just so you know. And they also, Houston just likes their regular, like, sandwiches. So Houston got a honey roasted turkey with mayonnaise, no mustard, horseradish sauce, dill pickles, pepper relish, tomatoes, onions, banana peppers, and lettuce.
I always get all my stuff all the way
loaded.
most of the time.
I can't eat deli meat right now because, you know, I'm pregnant. But, so I got just chicken salad, which I always get chicken salad. Excuse me. I got mayonnaise. I got mild mustard. I got some dill pickles. That's my favorite.
And we also got some chocolate covered clusters.
Chocolate peanuts. You're sitting on some more chocolate peanuts. I got 2 containers. And then we got some chips.
Look at that.
It looks so good. That one does look really good. Honestly, I would, they say you're not supposed to eat deli meat when you're pregnant, but I would trust and eat it here. I would eat it here. It's an Amish store, okay? They're clean. We got some chips, and then we got some chocolate whoopie pies. They make these chocolate whoopie pies, y'all. In my fall series, I made pumpkin whoopie pies that are very similar to the Amish. They have the pumpkin ones too. I have never made the chocolate ones. I kind of want to try to make these chocolate ones. But yeah, we always get these as well for dessert. But we always have to have our chocolate peanuts too. And then, so good.
And Lakin always gets her chicken salad.
Yeah, I got my chicken salad. I put mustard on it this time. I usually don't do that. And pickles.
Just good.
So good.
It's fresh.
So we gotta go pick Lady up at 3, which I haven't even called yet, have I? They're taking a long time on her, but she was like rough, y'all. So I filmed it before. I used to always take her to the wash tubs at the pet supermarket, but since I've been pregnant, it's just too hard for me to do that right now. And I've went since I've been pregnant. I took his sister with me, but she really needed to get her fingers done and everything. Her fingers, her claws trimmed, and she needed to be de-shedded really badly. So we may just start taking her to the groomers, because now with him, I would have to get somebody to babysit him if I was to take her to the wash tubs. So I'll probably just continue taking her to the groomers and letting them keep her nails and stuff trimmed, because with the baby and everything too. So them nails are pretty crooked.
Yeah, they were long. Every time she moved, I was like clank,
And then
clank.
she was getting to the point where she was sliding on the floors with them because they were just so long. So I can't wait to see her. She's gonna be so pretty.
She did not want to stay.
She's never been in a kennel before, and she's never been to the groomers before. This is her first time going to the groomers, and we had to put her in the kennel, and it was pitiful. She like let out the most pitiful whimper cry as we were leaving, like, Mom and Dad, don't leave me. It was so sad, but I know she'll get lots of treats and love. Like, she'll be great. She'll do great.
Your brother takes all of his dogs there, so that was our kind of
That's the only reason we
made a decision to take
her to where we took her, because that's where my brother goes. So yeah. But in our last food video, which this one's not really food that y'all can go try, like I said, if you're in North Carolina, go to Hamptonville, look up Shiloh General Store. It's definitely worth the visit if you're in North Carolina, like in the Winston, Greensboro area. It's worth the drive to come over here, or Wilkesboro, whatever. And they have a ton of stuff. I mean, they have like the homemade soaps. They have the fresh milk that you can buy. I mean, it's a general store. It's like a third grocery store. So they have tons of
fresh
stuff.
Cheese, bread.
You can get the fresh milk. You can get meats. You can get, they even like make pies where you can buy your pies. I was actually just looking, they make yogurt too, fresh yogurt, which I really want to try that. But I don't have any way to keep it cool right now because we're gonna go look at a job after we eat. And then they also, I mean, they just have all kinds of stuff. They have all kinds of candies. They make their candies, their sweets, like everything. And then they also just have like little knickknacks. They have essential oils. They have all kinds of stuff. I love this place. But in our last video, somebody requested, it's actually somebody that we know, requested that we talk about our IVF experience, which I plan on doing a whole story on this, and I actually filmed it. I filmed like the first part of our IVF, like infertility story. It wasn't just all about IVF, it was just our infertility in general. It was like from the start to up until IVF, because I was gonna have to make it into multiple parts. And I don't know what happened to the footage. I don't know, it's not on this SD card, and I have misplaced my other SD card, and I'm gonna have to find it, and I'm hoping that it's on there. I filmed it back in February. I was only like 20 some weeks pregnant. Like I was maybe just had turned 20 weeks pregnant. I mean, like, and clearly that's been 14 weeks ago because I'm 34 weeks pregnant now. So it's been a while.
I really don't want this many chips.
Yeah, I already opened this.
I was hoping you'd share.
So they had requested that we talk about how you felt going through the process, like when we were just doing the IVF process. We don't have to talk about like the IUI or whatever, but like how you supported me, or like how it was for you, like watching me go through the, like, I guess the shots and the retrieval and then the transfer.
Well, I don't do the shots. So
leading to the pregnancy.
I got lightheaded and I think I seen you give yourself shots one time.
So I tried to get Houston to be in there with me the first night I did shots.
I think I watched one time, maybe twice.
And he would not. I actually ended up, that's why, if you watch our baby announcement video, I'm FaceTiming my mom. That was our very first night of shots. I FaceTimed my mom because he wouldn't come in the kitchen with me because I tried to see if he would sit in there. I didn't want him to give them to me or anything, but I just wanted him to be in there with me, but he probably would have passed out, so.
I would have passed out, but
he just would not have done good. So he just sat in the living room, and I was crying on FaceTime with my mom because I was scared.
I listened though.
Yeah, he listened, and he was like, oh, just do it. If I actually had left the voice in the video, you would hear him going, just do it, just do it. Because he was like screaming through the rooms, like for me to just do it, like just to get it over with and do it. But yeah, so we had to stay on, well, I had to take shots up until I was like 11 weeks pregnant. I had to stay on progesterone, and the one morning that he watched me do my progesterone shot, right after was my first morning that I had like sickness, like really bad sickness. It was on a Sunday morning. I do not know if you remember that. It was the first morning I threw up being pregnant. I was already pregnant. I don't know, I was like 6 weeks pregnant maybe. And I was doing my progesterone shot that morning for church. He was getting ready, and I did those in the bathroom. And
yeah, I do.
And I had turned around and I kept telling him, I was like, I just don't feel good. I just don't feel good. And then I did my progesterone shot, and he like was like looking out the side of his eye, but really tried not to look while I was doing it, because I had to do those like in the back of my like butt area, like at the top. And he was trying not to look, but like looking, but not, you know, because he didn't want to see it. And I was like, I just don't feel good. I just don't feel good, Houston. And then after I did it, I got so hot, and I was like, I'm hot. And then he was just getting ready for church, and I went to our bedroom and I turned on the fan, and I like laid out on the bed, and I was like, Houston, I just don't feel good. Like, I'm yelling from our bedroom to the bathroom, like, I don't feel good. I don't know what's wrong with me. And then the next thing I knew, I was like grabbing, we had a trash can that we keep in our bedroom, and I grabbed the trash can and I'm puking, and he's like, are you okay? he was yelling. He was like, are you okay? And I was like, and I'm just puking. Like, I can't say anything because I'm literally just puking. And at this point, I'm crying through puking. And he's just like, and anywho, so finally I get to throw it up, and I'm like, yeah, I feel better now. And then I ended up not going to church that morning because I was just, it was bad. And then that's when my sickness like really started. That's when like all the throwing up started, and like, I mean, it was like every morning. Like, I think the next morning, it was Monday morning, we were getting up, he was getting ready for work, I started puking again, and then again. And then that's really when my sickness like full force started, and then it just did not. I mean, I would go a few days without, and then it would start back. It was just, it was a lot. But as far as what about whenever we did the egg retrieval?
On you?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have eggs.
I mean, it's just hard whenever I deal with things differently than most people. I just work it off. I just always ground myself in work and just trying to stay away from the problem at hand. And
when I fully talk about the IVF, like the egg retrieval, I got extremely sick from the egg retrieval. I got the ovarian hyperstimulation. The doctor who did my egg retrieval actually punctured my bladder as well. So we got home from having the egg retrieval done, and we ended up having to turn back around an hour later and go back to the clinic because I was urinating blood clots. And I got home and I was in a lot of pain, and my dad was there with us, and I was like, I'm not supposed to be bleeding this much. You're not supposed to bleed. Like, you can have spotting after egg retrieval, but you're not supposed to be bleeding. I mean, I was like bleeding, and I went to the bathroom, and it was extremely painful, and I was like, I'm not supposed to be bleeding like this. And I was still like high from like the medicine too, so like I was still out of it. But I knew that I wasn't supposed to be bleeding the way that I was bleeding, and so they had to take me back, and come to find out my bladder had been punctured, and if the bleeding hadn't stopped within 24 hours, then they were gonna have to put me back under and tack my bladder, do a bladder tack surgery procedure, whatever, on my bladder. A urologist was gonna have to come in. It was a really crazy time. So with all of that happening, then, so thankfully the bleeding stopped. I didn't have to have the bladder tack, praise the Lord, but I still feel like my bladder is scarred. I feel like my bladder has not been the same since the egg retrieval, but that's a different story. Then it was the next night is when the ovarian hyperstimulation started, and I could not sleep. I was in a lot of pain, and I woke up like suddenly because I had to like sleep propped up. I couldn't sleep flat. I couldn't sleep on my sides. Like, it just hurt too bad. And I woke up suddenly, and I was like, Houston, I'm sick. And it was like, I don't know, like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And his sister was staying the night with us, and I was like, I'm sick. And I couldn't move that well because, I mean, that egg retrieval was So
you probably couldn't move that well because of all the fluid.
Well,
I mean,
yeah, because that's when the fluid started.
Like 12 pounds of fluid.
No, I gained like 20 pounds of fluid in one night. Like, you couldn't even see my back. Like, it was on my back, it was on the front of me. I mean, like, I gained so much fluid. But so I started towards the bathroom and started puking. And with ovarian hyperstimulation, that's what happens. You just get so dehydrated because there's just so much fluid in your uterus and around your ovaries and all this stuff. And anywho, so then we had to go back again. So like every day we were going back to our fertility clinic for me to get IVs because I was so sick. I couldn't keep anything down. I would try to eat, I would try to drink. I couldn't keep anything in me. I was extremely dehydrated. I was so dehydrated, they like were having a hard time giving me the IV because, I mean, like,
finding a vein.
It was bad. So Houston doesn't handle that stuff well. So my parents came and stayed with us because they know Houston doesn't handle that kind of stuff well. Houston didn't, he had a hard time seeing me like that because I wasn't able to be myself like I'm how I usually am, and he just didn't do well. He tried to stay out of the house, which made me feel bad because I wanted him there with me. So I didn't understand why he was leaving me, but he wasn't leaving me. He was just, he couldn't handle what was going on with his wife, like at that moment in time. Like, it was just such a really, emotions were very high. It was scary, and it just wasn't a good time, but it was worth it. And so after all of that, it was just, I don't know, I mean, you can tell your point of it, but it was just, I don't really know what to say about it. It was hard. It was not easy at all. That's my point. Probably the hardest thing we've been through since being married. Well, definitely the hardest thing we've been through since being married. It was hard. So Houston was supportive, but the way that he was supportive was not how I guess you see all these other couples who go through infertility. Like, he didn't give me the shots. He can't handle that. He couldn't, I mean, he was there, but he couldn't be fully there because, I don't know, it just didn't work that way. I don't know. But as far as the transfer goes and everything, now that was great. We sat right there, did the transfer, and then literally he stayed at home with me because he got like a little cold. I ended up getting like the little IVF transfer cold. They have this thing where like after you do the transfer, so for some reason you get a cold. And I had a really bad cold, and I remember we were like all cuddled up on the couch. We had like our heater, we were watching movies, and I was like, I'm pregnant. And this was like, I don't know, 2 or 3 days after the transfer. I was like, I'm pregnant. And he was like, are you sure? And I was like, I'm pregnant. I was like, I know I'm pregnant. I was like, yes, I'm pregnant. He was more so like trying to keep me guarded. He was like, just keep your heart guarded, you know, like don't get your hopes too high. And I was like, no, Houston, I am pregnant. And I would just like say stuff and I'd be like, no, I am pregnant. And he was like, it's like he wanted to believe it, but he also was trying to stay guarded. And I was like, no, I'm pregnant. And then he didn't know that I took the test the day before. Yeah, she didn't tell me that. I actually had been to the church and had done treasury work. And my first beta was the next day, which was my birthday. And so, but I just like knew. And so what I did was I left the church from treasury work and I went to one of my favorite stores, which is Gabe's. Y'all have heard me talk about Gabe's. And I started looking at baby clothes, and I bought some baby clothes, which I showed those in the announcement video. And I bought some as like a faith purchase. I already had a pregnancy test at home. I only have one. I said I'm not gonna buy any more pregnancy tests. I'm just gonna use the one I have at home. I'm just gonna use one. And then y'all, if you want to see that, I can link the video down below the announcement, and you can see the whole pregnancy taking test. Houston knew nothing about that. And when I called him, it was kind of funny. I called him, I actually filmed calling him, but his reaction was just like, it was like, I was like, hey daddy, and he was like, what? I was like, I'm pregnant. I was like, I told you I was pregnant. And he was like, yeah, I already knew. And I was like, what? He's like, you've been saying you were pregnant for like a week. He was like, I already knew you were pregnant. So, anywho, it was funny. So, but he never would tell me I was pregnant when I was saying I was pregnant.
Well, I mean, I knew you were pregnant. I saw him implant the egg, and as long as it didn't go backward or have reverse effect, then we pretty much knew.
Yeah, but it's he still had to implant into my lining.
Yeah.
And everything. But we kind of knew, like, his embryo, Joe Dallas, he was ready. Like, you could just tell, because like from the moment that they took him out of the freezer to the moment that they were about to implant him, they gave us like all the pictures, and like he had already grown. Like the embryo had already grown so much. Like, he was like, I'm coming for you, mom and dad. He was like ready. He was like, just like watching that. And then we have a video of the transfer, like the ultrasound part of it, and like he just like scooted his way right into my uterus. Like, as soon as they like took him out of the catheter, he just like shot up into my uterus. Yeah. And so like we already had him
all the way around. It was all the way around.
Yeah. Yeah, he was like, I'm ready. And so we already had a really good feeling. And then the doctor also had our doctor, he was really good. He also had a really good feeling, and you could tell that they were all excited about the transfer, like even in the video. But then he was like, you know, just stay guarded. Even the doctor was saying, just stay guarded, just stay guarded. But you could tell they were all really excited because it was just such a good transfer. So it was a really exciting day. It was kind of like we already knew we were pregnant, and we were like, you know, keeping it to ourselves. Well, we had, you know, keeping it to ourselves, but it was just funny. Because it was like, we kind of knew, but you know, you don't know until it's like confirmed and everything. So that was our.
Now we're going on 8 months.
I'm 8 months pregnant. Yeah, I'm 34 weeks pregnant.
8 months.
Which y'all know if you watch my videos, but yeah, so I will do an in-depth story. It may just be after he's born. I'm gonna try to find that footage of the other, because I talk about my PCOS, I talk about my hypothyroid, and like kind of why we had fertility issues. And then I also hit base on, like, we had to do IUI before. I hit base on like IUI leading into the IVF, but the IVF story is gonna have to be its whole separate video, because there was just so much that happened in such a short period of time. But it kind of really needs to be its own video.
It was not so much as you too, so.
Huh?
Said it wasn't all you, so.
Yeah, I know, I explained that. Like, it wasn't just female factor infertility. We have male factor infertility too. So, like, I talk about that in that video. I just really hope I can find the footage. I really hope I can find the footage, because it took, I mean, yeah, it was a lot, but I covered a lot in that video. So I really hope I can find it, so I can get it uploaded for y'all. Because that one I can probably upload before he's born, but unless I decide to wait until I'm able to do the other story too, because there's going to be multiple parts. And then there's also a testimony that kind of goes with it too. I kept a infertility prayer journal where I wrote, like, I studied out, you know, women in the Bible that have fertility issues, and like them praying for their children and stuff, and then, you know, God, you know, giving them their children, and I hit based on that in the video that I already filmed, but I can kind of go through that more. And that was just something that really helped me get through. Obviously, just relying on God was like the main thing. Yes, we relied on each other, but ultimately you have to rely on God when going through that, because that is the only way. Like, I have people ask me, how did you do this? How did you go through that? Like, people that know me and know kind of more what happened and like kind of watched it happen. And I don't have the answer. My answer to them is always, it was just God. I mean, truly, like, that's the only way I got through it, because I don't know how else I got through it.
I don't really have nobody to talk to going through the process, unless you like know somebody personally, or you know, somebody that's close that you can talk to and kind of seek some answers from. And we really didn't know why we went through all of it. And then one night after church, we were able to take a missionary out for supper, and him and his wife were going through some
infertility,
and then it just hit me. It's like, you can be a help to these people.
Yeah.
So,
and I know I've talked about that multiple times in videos, how, you know, even though we went through such a discouraging time, how I prayed that at least the Lord would use it as a testimony, and that we would be able to help people. And we have been able to help. Not only have we helped the missionary, that him and his wife were going through some infertility problems, and they didn't know if they were going to have to go through like IUI or IVF to have a baby and all of that. And, you know, they're missionaries. And then we've also helped just some other church people as well. And there's just been, like, even people, I know, like, some of y'all have even contacted me, and, you know, just knowing that you have that extra person, like, praying for you, but you, like, can actually talk to somebody who has been through it, and, like, you're able to relate to them. It just makes such a big difference, because, like Houston said, we didn't really have anybody, you know, so all we could really rely on was, like, each other and God. And we had the support of, like, my family and everything, but for the most part, we didn't make it a...
The preacher and his wife.
Yeah, the preacher and his wife.
Played a big role in
We
that.
didn't make it a public thing. I feel like the reason I didn't want to make it a public thing until after I got pregnant was because I didn't want other people's opinions and outside views and all of that playing a part. Like, your emotions are already so high, your hormones are high, like, you're on all these medications, and I just didn't want people saying stuff, or like outside noise, I guess, coming in. So, you know, we kind of picked our people, and that was it. Like, my best friend knew what was going on, and she was there every day after my egg retrieval. Every day she came, and she was pregnant with her baby girl, and every day she came and sat with me. And, you know, it's just kind of having your people too. So, but it all worked out. So, but yeah, that kind of hits space on Houston talking about it too. So I hope that helped for the one that asked in the comments for us to kind of talk about it.
But yeah, just go talk about it. Find somebody that has been through it, or is going through it. It kind of helps.
It's not easy. It's never easy.
Talking about stuff's never easy, but it always seems to help if you open it up, get it off your chest. I was always afraid of talking to somebody about it, because I was afraid they would be, well, here's what I would do, or, you know, share their opinions, or talk to somebody else about it, and then I would be like, or they're just people feeling sorry. I didn't really.
Yeah, I didn't want people feeling sorry for us.
I don't want people to feel sorry for me, because, you know, it's a thing that we decided to do. So.
Yeah, we didn't want people feeling sorry. That was one of my big things. I never have wanted people to feel sorry for me. I'm like, you have nothing to feel sorry for me about, like, in any of my life situation or any of my life choices. Like, you know, God made us the way that we are, and He knew that when we got married. He knew when we were born that we were going to go through this. He knew, you know, He knows when you're born who you're going to marry. He knew from day one. So like, if God already knew, then God already had a plan this whole time. So like, why do I want you feeling sorry for me whenever this was all God anyway? Like, he did this for a reason. So I didn't want like that either.
So what we're doing is we're just sat here, cranked the car up, eating our lunch, talking to you guys. And I'm a people watcher, so I love this.
He's watching all the people.
I watch people come in and out. I got a front row parking spot, first time ever.
Yeah, we've never got a front row parking spot here.
And so right now, the thing that intrigues me the most is this lady walking in with a dog in her purse. The only thing stuck out is his head, and it's like looking around 100 miles an hour. Its head's just jetting around. It's like it's twitching.
Houston's already ate some of this whoopie pie, but
I did. I saved you half of it, or a little bit more.
I think more than half. But
I'll eat another bite. But
so good.
Yeah, the thing almost like melts in your mouth. Cream between it. Let me have a bite. Let me have a bite. I'm gonna get my fingers sticky.
I really am gonna try to make them, y'all. When I do, y'all know I'll have the recipe for y'all.
It's up to my finger.
I mean, I feel like since I made the pumpkin ones during the fall, I feel like I can make these chocolate ones too. Them pumpkin ones were so good. They were so good.
So now we're on our way up to the mountains of above North Wilkesboro, Lenore area. So you guys will get to see the mountains today. We're already kind of headed that way. It's all headed, I guess that would be north. Yeah, north. So we're already headed uphill, but there'll be mountains here in a little while.
Towards Boone. Like where the Appalachian
mountains are, yeah.
Oh, this is so good.
Yeah, about melting your mouth. What's the rest of it?
I'll take another bite. See, for my pumpkin ones, I did cream cheese cream. This is like a cream. This is not cream cheese.
It's almost like that Oreo cream.
Yeah, it's like a Oreo cream. Which, by the way, thank you to the one that commented and told us that the Oreo cream milkshake is indeed just the cream of the Oreo.
Yeah. I'm still disappointed.
Because we didn't know. But that's okay.
Excuse me.
They usually put the ingredients on this thing. So I just want to see if we can see what this cream was.
Yeah, all their stuff is homemade here. I don't think anything's really bulk other than like the chips for the sandwiches and some smaller stuff. But
no, the sandwiches,
no, the chips.
Yeah, the chips, those are bulk. They buy the chips, but that's it. Okay, they got, the filling is powdered sugar. It's got egg whites, vanilla, and it's got something else in it that I can't hardly see. I wonder if I'll be able to see it on the other one. So, the cake is wheat, flour, sugar, cocoa, butter, milk, oil, water, eggs, baking powder, baking soda, salt, and vanilla. Pretty simple. Now it's just figuring out the measurements. So I got the ingredients, just not the measurements. But these things are so good. They make oatmeal cookies, and these are so good too. But the chocolate whoopie pies are my favorite. And then they got the pumpkin whoopie pies, which I've never had their pumpkin whoopie pies. I just decided to make my own, and I really enjoyed those. And then the chocolate whoopie pies, and then they have another one.
I've always had the chocolate ones and the oatmeal cookies.
Yeah, but there's the pumpkin and there's another one. They also make these cinnamon rolls, y'all. Oh, we forgot. They make the donuts too. Mm-hmm. Their donuts are so good.
And most of the time, they only put out in one day what they sell. So when you sell it, they're pretty much done with it. Mm-hmm. So if they ran out of like all their little boxes of,
well, I didn't see no donuts.
Peanuts or donuts or stuff like that.
So I think they were done making donuts for the day because I didn't see any donuts. And then they had cinnamon rolls, but they have cinnamon rolls. They make them with maple icing, and then they do regular icing. And they only had their maple icing ones out. They didn't have their other ones. I guess we'll just put these in here. Oh, I'll try one of these for you guys, even though I really don't want it. One of the chocolate peanut clusters. I think those are the ones I like better.
No, I don't know. I don't really want those. I want those. You guys are sitting on top of the chocolate covered peanuts.
These are the peanut clusters, and then the chocolate covered peanuts is like the chocolate on those like literally melts.
Oh, it just melts in your mouth.
It's so good.
I don't want to eat the whole box and feel miserable.
Yeah, we literally do every time we come here. We're like, oh, we'll not eat them all. We'll save them. No, we end up eating the whole thing. We'll leave them here and stack them up the road. Alright, but we're going to head up the road. I'll show you guys the mountain. It'll be pretty.